Is everyone ready to let's get rocking and rolling? Call the meeting to order. Can you please do roll call?
Sure, sorry about that. Just had to turn on the
No,
recorder.
that's okay.
Committee Member Arnie.
Here.
Committee Member Loughlin.
Here.
Committee Member McKellar.
Here.
Committee Member Toft.
Here.
Committee Member Trottier. Here. Committee Member Williams.
Here.
Chair Zierden.
Here. All right, let's go ahead and say our Pledge of Allegiance. Take my,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right, so, just looking over the agenda, wondering if anybody has an approval or any amendments to make to the agenda. I had one thing, but I think it would fall under the new business. I just wanted to give an update about the children working on helping us do some naming things, just give an update to the group on that. So I don't know if that can follow under.
It could go under new business or
7A.
committee member reports, whichever you
Okay,
prefer.
sounds good. Yeah, we'll just leave it under.
Do you want to do it at committee member reports at the bottom of the agenda? Or
Sure,
do you?
yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, we'll do
Yep.
that. Okay.
So what, can anyone talk under that section then?
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we have to say what we're going to talk about, or?
No, you can
No,
just
I
talk
think
when
it-
you get to
yeah.
that point.
Okay.
I motion to approve though.
Second.
all right. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Agenda is approved. Next is our open forum, and I don't think, I'm short. I don't think I see anybody back there. So let's cruise on over to number 6. We have 3 sets of minutes since our, so the last one was the work session, or the first one is the work session from October 26th. It was a workshop. And then, if we can get an approval of those minutes from, notes from that meeting.
You're doing them individually?
I think we have to, or no?
You can do
it-
them as a grouping if you want.
Oh,
If
okay.
everybody is comfortable saying
So-
we approve all minutes
Okay.
as written,
Let's do that then.
unless somebody wants to modify any of the minutes.
I do.
Okay.
He wants to.
I want to modify the 30th workshop, 2 areas, where it says the Parks and Rec Committee request reference to the community center remain in the plan. I just wanted to note that I was not on board with that.
I can do that.
And then also, also not on board with the discussion on the parking additions of kiosks, pavilions, bathrooms, and miscellaneous structures. Would be on record that I was not for that too. Otherwise, Dan, you do an excellent job on these minutes, by the way. I read those from a few years ago, and these are very thorough, so I thank you for your thoroughness.
Sure. Okay, so you just
second
want
that.
noted on there, not on board with the community center and the,
The parking,
The
Or-
parking lot with all
the
the
toilet
bathrooms
and, yeah,
the
was that for the rec area?
Yes.
The parking lot.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, it's about halfway down on the minute.
Gotcha. I'll figure it out, yeah. I'll contact you if I have any other questions. I'll get it fixed.
Then I'll make a motion to accept the minutes, amended minutes for all 3 sessions.
I'll second.
second that. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I have a question, so I'll vote opposed.
Huh?
He wanted, I couldn't hear, did he say he wanted those items removed?
No, just noted that he was not in agreement with those items.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was for an amendment to just have Mr. Toft noted as that.
He's requested I add language, not remove it.
Correct.
Okay. I'm still a little confused, because I think it was just a narration of what was discussed.
Yeah, but there was a couple pieces where it says Park and Recreation Committee requested, like on the bottom bullet point, he would like to just be noted, with the exception of Chair Committee Member Toft, clarification, and then the same with the bathroom piece, correct? Yeah. Installation of kiosk pavilions, bathrooms. He'd like, it just noted that Mr. Toft did not agree with that.
Okay, but it was
But
still an item.
It was an item, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Very strange.
Is it too late to, I'd like to add my name to that list of disagreement with the,
You weren't at the meeting, so I don't know
okay.
if we can, right?
If this was in reference, you're referring to
I think we could
November
open it
30th,
back
2023?
up.
Community center, yes.
In the community center, okay.
But I wasn't here, so I,
You
was-
weren't there, so I can't add that, but
That's fine.
actually, thank you for bringing that up. I have you in attendance. I will correct that as well.
okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, I think we're on that.
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries for all three sets of minutes with those amendments. All right, so 7A is disc golf course signage and the sledding hill discussion that we had talked about at our last regular meeting. I think it was a month ago.
Yep.
So-
Yep. So you guys have actually talked a couple times about possibly doing a sledding hill option or a walking trail, possibly a snowshoeing trail kind of thing out there. So based upon those comments, Joe went out and did some exploratory work, looking at what those options might be over in the rec area over there. Additionally, you guys had also requested that Joe do some exploratory work on what it would look like if we moved the signs on the roads and, you know, the different paths for approach and things like that. So he did that, and he wrote up a memo, and I'll pass it over to him. He can speak for himself.
I think it pretty well describes the direction I had, and cost should be pretty apparent. The options are just the shortest options based on coming off Bushman or 11, essentially. So I guess it would be open it up to questions for me.
I'm wondering which option is the least invasive to the neighborhood? You know, like, is it all kind of the same, like you?
Option 1 definitely would have the least number of homes drove by, I guess, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah,
And then also probably 5, just off the top of my head, going down Rainier from 11. Let me see here.
I've driven all these routes, I think option 2 is probably the closest as far as direction. You know,
Yep.
Then you got your less time on gravel road. Option 1, you're gonna be on a gravel road on Blue Ridge or just about, or White Oval.
The whole way, basically. Correct.
So are you
Yep.
saying that option 2 is more direct?
Yeah. There'll be less
Unpaved?
time on gravel roads
Okay,
for people.
more
I would
paved?
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, option 2, 3, and 4 are more or less, I mean, they're right next to each other. They're all paved, they're all pretty built out. I'm, you know, going off my cuff, probably 30 to 50% built out as far as homes. So. And then the noted difference in cost, you know, for size of signs, it's 33% to get a bigger sign. Basically, the cost is how many signs we put out. The graphics could be adjusted. The biggest cost is the signage on County Road 11, because the highway department will not allow us to install them, so they'll bill us out, and that was the bigger, you know, that's the bigger part of
So
those
that was
costs.
for if we were changing the County Road 11 sign.
If we were to move it, or their installation cost was pretty significant.
But once we're on our city streets, then you guys can do it?
Yep, and that's quite, you know, they're smaller signs. The ones on County Road 11 are, I want to say 48 by 48, 2 posts. And then the county charges labor and all those things, so. And that was addressed in the email from Ann.
Okay.
I guess an option I didn't put on there is not specify a route, as long as our address is well known, because there's probably, I think you could come up with 20 different ways to get there if you've been in that neighborhood. It's
If you put it in your Google
very
Maps, I
different.
guess.
Yeah, there's many options.
The only thing is that if people aren't even aware it's there, and I never was of the original golf course, and I saw that little sign one day, I'm like, what? There's a
No.
disc golf course in there? And then I wound around all that stuff and found it, and then I've been using it ever since.
Yep, I'm just throwing it out there that, that could be too, because it took me 3 years to learn how to plow that area correctly and not get lost.
The
They
other thing is,
snake
I
in
would
and
just
out.
say that there should be a sign on Bushman Road, whether we don't go into Green Scene from there and around, or we just direct them back to Ranchette, but a sign on Bushman directing them to whatever the next sign on Ranchette is, because that's a main road,
Oh, gotcha.
you know?
So.
I don't care if
At
it-
the Ranchette and Bushman intersection?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great,
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be
That's all I'm
And-
saying, is something on Bushman, because
And that
it's,
would be cheaper, because we could put the
Yeah.
bigger sign up ourselves. I think it'd probably make it like $500 or something, so.
that's the only comment I had. And then Daniel and I had already talked today about trying to get directions on, like, when people Google the place. You can't do it right now, because number one, we haven't decided on a name for the area, for the location of the parking lot and whatever we're gonna call that there, recreation area, whatever we decide. We have to decide a name so he can go in and make those requests, so we can actually get it. Because I kept trying to do it the other day, and it just takes me to the other golf course parking lot right now, if you want a Google map.
So if I could just clarify for a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Committee member Arnie and I spoke this morning. She did call and ask about if there was anything we could do to kind of fix Google Maps to see if maybe it would be a little clearer how to get through and how to get to parking lots and stuff. The answer to that is I can do some stuff, but it's up to Google to actually do it. So what'll happen is we're kind of calling it the City of Breezy Point Parks and Recreation Area right now. We do have a name for it written in the master plan that obviously we're still working on. We have to finalize that. Once we kind of get to that point and we know what it's called and all that stuff, what I can do is I can get in contact with a friend I have at Google, basically, and I can put in some requests on Google's algorithm search system as well and say, hey, this address, the parking lot is over here now instead of over here. And they may be able to fix it, they may not. Honestly, it's working with Google sometimes is trying to like scry nothing. So I'll do what I can with it. Hopefully we'll be able to adjust it. In the meantime, however, we had also talked about possibly creating a specific page for it on the website and putting directions and stuff in there. Obviously, if it's on the website, I have much more control over the location data and the directional stuff and all those kinds of things. So those are kind of options we could look into moving forward to make some
and
adjustments there.
I thank you for that. I guess I see this as a bigger picture. We'll get to that point. I know right now it's not bringing you there, but I do have a little bit of concern. I don't know if people want signs up 4 different paths into a neighborhood. I mean, I like the idea of more paved roads, but that equals more homes. Are people going to appreciate, like Sandy, how you said, where's the least amount of homes, the least amount of disruptions? I kind of feel like too, then we're tunneling people to go a certain way, and then are those residents going to be mad? I don't know. Like I'm just trying to weigh it all out.
Signs?
I'm thinking maybe there's 1 or 2 routes, public, but eventually we'll have that Google map in the long run, location.
Most of the houses are on White Overlook, and there's no route that you can take unless you take White Overlook. So that's where most of the houses are.
Yeah.
Where the traffic-
Because it all kind of comes back to that, yeah.
Megan, if we're concerned about paved roads, maybe we could ask our liaison to see if in the future they would consider blacktopping the roads that are needed to get there.
People want to pay the tax.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and, and even longer term. But,
Dust is not a factor at that point.
right,
Was there ever a big problem with people winding through to get to the old disc golf course? I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a line of traffic. Oh, there was? Parking was one
Cars
thing.
going by pretty fast on many occasions. I've told this story before, and I won't bore you with the details, but I was walking my dog, and I had to get off to the side of the road. I wasn't in any danger, but he wasn't paying attention. And I don't know he was a disc golfer, but it was a lot of car traffic because of the tournament.
And all that, well, the tournament, yeah, but I mean, how do you even get going fast in there? And like you all said, we get lost just trying to find
get
our
lost
way
in
in
there
there
every
every
time I
time.
go back.
So I just think we need to do, we've paved the lot, we've made a lot, we've made a park, we've made a disc area, we've paid for the parking lot. People should know how to get there, and
I
let's just
agree, I
make it
just don't know.
simple. Let's not get this too bogged down. Right.
Sorry to interject here, but I just believe that once you define it and it's on Google, people are going to get there
me too.
on their own. I mean, they don't need a sign for the most part. It's nice to have a couple of signs saying, golf course, whatever, but,
Yeah.
you go any place and you
Exactly.
type in and it takes you the quickest, fastest, whatever way
But he says that's ways off.
you think.
Well, we don't,
We don't even have an
don't
address
know.
for it?
We have an address, but we don't have a name.
we have an address for it. It's just, if we're talking specifically about Google Maps, obviously I don't control anything that Google does. So I can put in requests for like certain pads and stuff. Essentially what I'll have to do is I'll have to go onto Google. And I had to do this for like our new website. I had to
Nothing's
go
easy.
in and make a request to Google and say, hey, I need you guys to update your algorithms so that people understand that this is the new website and don't try to go here and redirect and stuff. I'll have to do that same thing, but now with roads.
the roads.
So,
And routes and stuff, which I can do. It's just sometimes Google can take a while. Sometimes they
Sure.
do it. Sometimes they don't,
well, at the minimum though, currently Google takes you to the other
Old
parking lot.
Yes, it takes you to
So
the
at minimum, you have a sign there that says, go to there.
If I may,
Yes, please.
I hear, one of the things to clarify, the current signage comes from County Road 11 through Autumn to Summer to Raccoon to the disc golf course. That's the current route that it's doing, so you're talking about rerouting it. One of the things was that I hear that you want Google to take that new address. One of the things, I just Googled Breezy Point Disc Golf Course, and it's feeding from the PDGA website, which has the 31559 green scene. So I think once, and I don't know, we do have the address for we have a new fair. So I think it's one of the things is we have to update all the links to say, this is the address of the location now, so it can drive people to that. But keep in mind, you do that right now, granted, there's going to be snow on the ground soon, there is no path connecting that new parking lot to that. So if you implore that now, you may have some misdirection about going to the legacy course because of that. So just calling out some attention.
The U-Disc does have the new address, but only if you're going to be golfing and you know about using the U-Disc, they have the new address in there. But that didn't,
So I feel like this is a chicken or the egg kind of a thing, though. Like, to a certain point, until we have it sounds like a name officially, and that we have an address, we need to name it. Are we ready to do that? Can we, and then the signs are frozen in, right, Joe? They're pretty,
Yeah, more
can
or
they be
less.
shimmied right now, or is it gonna be,
I wouldn't count on it.
yeah. So then, we're gonna have these old signs for a little while, but eventually we'll be able to do that.
Well, and
So
I
can we-
think, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I think some consistency, if somebody's going to go to the, boat launch, to look for that specific sign, and that there's going to be a sign on County Road 11 to direct you off of County Road 11, and then there's going to be a sign pointing you in where the parking is, out here, and how to get down to the boat launch, and to look for those signs if you go And if we keep that consistency in their signage for parks, that's going to just help that across the board, I think.
It seems too that signs would reduce people getting lost, so driving all over the place in there. 'Cause not everybody uses Google, they think they know where it is, that's what I do
Right.
every time I go in there.
Yeah.
Then I'm
maybe
turning
there
around in
is-
someone's driveway.
There is a path in, like with signage. I don't think we should get rid of, I mean, there's no point in that.
The
But,
old signage, I mean, if that's not our primary parking lot, that's where it's directing it.
Yeah.
So
correct, so that needs to be moved,
I
but
would-
it's too late
yeah.
now.
Well, we can pull it out, I don't know if we can put it back in.
Well, could we maybe even just get them pulled out so it's not directing people to the wrong place? I don't
I
know.
would, seeing how they're in the county right of way,
Not the big sign,
oh, the little
just
ones?
the little ones.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's no big deal. The big
Yeah.
sign could be a little more tricky, but we do have an address, like I just typed it in like how I go anywhere, and it gave me 3 routes. And it's correct. It
Yeah.
brings you to the correct parking lot.
Have to
So
have
that's
the
Need that
actually a good
address.
map to look
That
at,
address,
to
yeah.
figure out where to put the signs.
7802 White Overlook Drive and hit,
What if you type
I guess my only point is I don't want to have 3 different signages coming in from different
Right.
points. I think we can have one, and then, I don't know, but that's just my 2 cents.
Or do you have two, one coming from each
But Ranchette,
direction?
or-
One from Ranchette and one from Bushman.
Bushman way in is way easier to me. I got all screwed up in there today, and I had the map. I was driving around, I hadn't,
Well, maybe, yeah,
I don't know, I mean, I just threw that out there.
yeah.
Gail's recommendation to put have 2 directional signs like on Bushman and Ranchette to one path, that's gonna probably be, you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. Because then you're avoiding a bunch of little signs going down Green Scene.
Yeah.
You save money because then we don't have to put another one in the county right away. And that's just what I'm seeing on it. So.
Okay,
So would that work into, which option would that work into, or that be a
Is that
separate
one?
one?
That would work really well with, pretty much, hold on. It'd complement 2, 3, 4, yeah. Those would be the 3. So, then the traffic would come down Ranchette to where it breaks off of Ranchette. So you'd have it coming 2 different ways. It's that option I didn't consider, but
so I
Makes
guess I'm looking at cost, so 4 is more expensive than 2 or 3, so they're more paved on 2 and 3.
well, part of the thing that would be different with the cost is for the large signs, I was assuming the county is installing them and buying them and we have to reimburse them. I did some math, like it'd be about, for one of the big signs, $400 or $500 for us to do one versus $1,200 from the county.
why does it have to be a big sign if there's not a small one?
Not huge.
Just similar to the sign that's
Yeah,
on
it's
the
just, like,
The 2 by 3,
bigger than this. It's just this big,
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
like
is it-
that.
The current sign
You can't
we
read it
have-
if it's any
County is
smaller.
48 by
This way.
48,
I passed that today.
Oh.
that's what he said.
Joe, I don't think that sign is a 48 by 48 out on
I
County.
didn't measure it exactly.
No.
It's bigger than your typical 2 by 2. It could be 2 by 3.
Yeah,
I would say
that's what
2
I'm
by
thinking.
3,
Like 2 by 3 is what I was thinking.
Like I asked if there's one that's just like that like universal logo of a hiker or a boat launch. Is there one for disc golf? And we could just put that without even putting the name or Breezy Point or anything. Just point, like you're saying,
Well,
boat launch.
But it's,
Although
Thing
it
is,
might not
we could
just be
put the
that
name of
one.
the park on there, and then we could add the snowshoer, the disc golfer, and the Sliders Hill or something, you know,
Like the symbol.
those little logos underneath it.
That's a good idea, I like that.
So it's the whole park that's
And the
there.
name will be at the parking lot, so
Yeah.
everybody would clearly see, okay, I was looking for the Breezy Point Disc Golf, and there's no question I'm here because
Yeah.
here's the big sign.
So
That's a whole
right
different sign.
now,
That's a bigger kiosk, and we'll have that's another discussion.
right now, what do we need to decide on this item?
Route.
Which
Which
option maybe?
routes? I think as far as what the signs look
And then-
like, we can work on that over winter.
Yep,
Do pictographs, I mean, we have a little bit of time for that. Or whatever you guys would like to use, I guess. I'm hearing pictographs mostly. So
and
figuring
then
out the route.
we were thinking of our logo, the City of Breezy Point, because we want to say that in front of all our parks, we said, right? We just stick with our logo,
Or-
so our
And then have
logo,
like a little pictograph depicting all the
Yeah.
potential uses.
yep,
Okay.
and then ding, ding,
I'll draw
ding.
something like that up and, for correction, that sign down there, that is 36 by 36. I
Oh,
did
okay,
measure it.
3x3. It looks smaller when you're
Doesn't
driving
it look
by
small?
at 45 miles an hour, 55,
It seems hard to read is what it does.
but not
seem.
4x4, I didn't think.
I think
Okay,
that's pretty
36.
standard when you look at other.
You know, like the boat launch things, or the
Yep.
the hiking guy, or the
Yeah.
skiing guy, where they got the guy
Yeah,
going
yeah.
down skiing.
We're going to do that.
Those-
All right, and then the one off
those
of
4x4,
Ranchette, Joe?
you think?
The one off of Ranchette that points them down, is that where we want to, that dual purpose sign, or where we,
Well, we could do a dual one at Ranchette and 11, or Bushman and 11, and then Bushman and Ranchette.
Yeah, I mean, this is popping up as a
The other-
universal symbol for disc golf,
It's a net,
you know?
basket.
Yeah,
okay,
it's pretty simple,
Clear,
yeah.
Pretty obvious.
they'll be able to,
I think I understand that, and then, as far as picking out.
which
you know,
route?
Which route, they're all about the same amount of smaller signs, so. I guess the bigger question, do we want the smaller signs to have the pictographs as well, basically?
I think they're
We can.
arrows. Well,
Or just park, because brown and white is like the standard.
For parks, yeah.
recreation.
Yep.
They kind of don't stand out so great, but.
But that's nice for neighbors not to have.
It's
And if
not
you're
as
looking
intrusive.
for them.
Yeah, and you
You know,
know if you're
what
going
you're
that,
looking
you're
for.
looking for
It's
them.
recognizable because we know it from other places.
Yep,
That's fine.
So the smaller signs probably shoot for a 2x2 is what I'm hearing.
I'd say the biggest,
Just try to condense it from what the bigger one will be.
well, and I'm wondering at that point, do we want to stick with just arrows? I mean, do people want these signs all through their neighborhood?
It's not a lot of signs.
There'll be
It's-
one on
it's
each
just at
main
On the
corner,
corners,
kind of.
yeah.
yeah.
and turns, basically.
And there'd be one
We'll
at the
go from
turn.
there.
And if it just has the symbol and the arrow of which direction to go, that would be how the
can keep
boat launching
following it.
is.
Bigger signs on the 11 and whatever intersection, big road, and then small ones
Smaller
on the
versions.
inside.
Yeah.
But Joe, would they make like a sign that could have like 3 or 4 of those?
Symbols, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
On
just
one
shrink them
side?
down.
Yep,
Or are they going to be all vertical down a pole? What do you
do that
envision?
too.
Probably.
You're not going to have 4 posts.
No,
It's what it is. They'll send us, whatever they call them, like
Mock-up.
Mock drawing.
mock-ups for approval, show size. I'll talk with Tyler. There's a couple other people at M&R. And they'll sometimes if you try to put too much stuff on it, the detail gets kind of small. So, but, I'll explain what we're looking for. Another good thing would be what pictographs do we want? Do we want disc golfer,
Sled.
sled,
Snowshoe.
Snowshoe.
sled, snowshoe? Okay, 3, so that one.
And just like basic black and white. I mean, it's brown and white,
brown and
but
white, yeah.
just,
The hiker, too?
that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah,
That actually, like if you go down Winter Trail, our existing parking lot's right there, and I don't believe that has signs directing anything to it.
So it'd be nice to add that to it too.
Well, it would be.
Yeah, then it would be that consistency.
And a little, yeah, I mean, we're going down that route. You
A
kinda
little
kill
boost
two
for
birds
that
with one
park
stone.
trail.
Yeah,
So,
so that's option
That's a
3 or
benefit.
4.
So go ahead and get quotes more
Okay.
specifically for that, I guess. Do we need to make a motion for him to do that, or
I
can
was
he?
actually going to intercede for 2 seconds here.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify, Joe, everything that we're talking about here, none of this is going to require the city to expend funds, correct?
no.
We're not spending money? Okay.
Not yet.
So what we have then is instead of a recommendation to council, you guys are just directing Joe and staff to
Yep.
look at these things a little bit further, move kind of the next step with the goal of probably maybe next meeting, if everything's okay, making a more concrete recommendation to council at that time.
Yep.
Okay.
We're working ahead.
I think
Yep,
that's,
that sounds good to me.
perfectly fine in its current form. I don't think we need a motion on that, Joe.
love
We'll
it.
work it and we'll come back.
Yeah, the next.
We can amend it and make modifications and stuff.
And
as
nobody
needed.
has a strong opinion on 2, 3, or 4. If not, then let's let Joe decide what the best places to be.
I think
The winter-
trail does
It seems to
help
fit.
the park system, identify an extra parking lot that.
So option
is
3,
Yep,
So that would be
probably-
3.
I mean, you can defend,
okay. 3 or 4.
anyway.
yep, so.
'Kay.
All right, I think I'm pretty good.
How about with the next piece right after that, the sledding hill and snowshoe path?
Sure. We flagged the path, I don't know, potential paths last week. I don't know if anyone got to check them out. What we tried to do.
I did.
Is direct to Hill 2, where there's 2 hills that meet, there's no trees, that makes a lot of sense right there. It's not a terribly far walk. It's down the parking lot to the right essentially. And then the snowshoe path, the direction I gave the guys was try to make a circle, avoid steep hills, make it as best they could, And they were 2 different colors. I think one was pink and whatever.
Orange and yellow, I saw.
Yeah.
What were
So
the plow poles for?
those were the fiberglass.
The plow poles, what I would call it, put them on my driveway side.
Yep.
Yeah, those were by a whole number, right before 9.
Those were as we were requested to identify the property lines that were surveyed, so a couple councilmen could more visually view the
See.
property lines along homes, because the original survey used wood lath and.
Well, these were on the fairway. These weren't property line poles.
Oh, in the middle.
Right.
I think that was to reinforce that's a turnaround.
For what?
For what?
For the snowshoe.
Oh, snowshoes, okay.
Yep, like go turn around here.
Okay.
Yep. And it's to show you guys that's what we're looking at. I don't know if they picked a good path or not.
I went. And it makes sense because you got all those rocks going down, so that leads right to the snowshoe, the sliding
Sledding hill.
hill. And then you kind of take that same path, that's the way I went anyway, because I didn't know, there's no arrows for that. And I just knew where the hole was and started following those pink,
The pink ones?
I think it was the pink ones, and
Yeah.
orange. And then it took a nice route. It was a good, nice, it didn't go up and around and up every hill and down and through every hole, but it was good.
That
It was
the
doable.
goal. It
It's
was
very
to do the whole
doable.
course.
It's gonna
but-
be nice, because it's not too steep, like I did the old course.
Yeah,
There's
the
some
old one is
steep-
some steep ones.
Steep parts over there,
Oh, good. That sounds good.
and it didn't seem like it got close to anybody's place.
It was more or less kind of in the middle,
Yeah,
it didn't always use fairways, it used some crossing and
Do we
connecting.
need to order, remember the signage or all that kind of stuff? Where is that for the sledding hill or?
well, I was gonna make one, and Joe said, wait.
We can make a temporary one. Jory found some, the size of a standard with the stickman pictograph that looked pretty good. Could be temporary, and then contact M&R, probably $100, $150. I didn't get a quote from them because we just got the figured something out on last week, so.
So could we get some maybe options for that? It would be obviously when that goes up and down, depending on the season, but with you get the
Sure. That's no
other
problem.
sign stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, if we ever get any snow, it'd be,
You know-
I hiked in there, it was nice, but there's not a lot of snow.
Kids were already
Yeah.
sledding.
Yeah, it's shaded
Actually.
so that the trees do keep the snow in some of those
After
spots.
today, though.
Okay, so just to clarify, still exploration stuff. Joe's gonna look at the
Correct.
signs and figure some stuff out.
Yep.
That's perfect. Just so the 7 of you are aware, David, or City Administrator Chansky did take an opportunity to talk to a couple of the council members about this. And a few of them voiced a desire that you guys hold a public hearing on this item before bringing a recommendation to them for finalization. So this is actually perfect then. Joe's gonna get some more signage stuff together, shore it up a little bit more, make it a little more concrete. And then what we're, as staff, kind of recommending at this point is once we have kind of a plan together, we know where stuff is, we'll hold a public hearing as the Parks and Recs Committee about it, where members of the public can come in and talk about it and
Feedback.
get answers and give feedback and that kind of stuff, and you guys can debate it openly there. And then at that point, you'll come up with a recommendation to council, and then it'll go through, and obviously it's council's decision whether or
Yeah.
not, final approval stuff. So just so you guys are aware, that's kind of the process we're envisioning right now, if that's
Yeah,
all
one of
right.
the council members approached me
Yeah.
sharing that same desire. So once we got things a little bit more firmed up, sharing it, looking for feedback, give people opportunity to come in, and then we make the recommendation based on,
So are you saying people can't sled there until,
Well, no, people, it's, so it's.
No, it's open. But
It's public
Public
land.
property.
Dedicated for public use. So if somebody wanted to go back there and sled, then they.
it just won't have a sign yet officially.
It just won't have a sign, it won't be an official sledding hill. That would require, that's what the council is talking about, making like a public hearing on. And if we're gonna designate stuff and encourage people to do it and publish it on the website and talk about it, then we wanna get to the public hearing. But like, I mean, anybody could go back there and walk, or kids could go
Whatever they
sled
want.
on it or anything. It's dedicated public use, so.
So are we plowing the lot or not until we get a council ruling on it?
Have you guys always plowed that lot? Or the
Let's
other
just-
one in the past?
Yeah, we plow, they're not like a priority, like if it's a long day, there's certain areas we try to trim, but usually within a day or two, we come back and we plow the existing parking lots.
I think you wouldn't even have to do the whole thing, just to the entry and then
Correct.
in and out, you wouldn't have to do the whole
Make
thing.
it passable?
Yeah,
Correct, I mean,
Just a
the
few
winter
spots.
trail one is much tighter.
yeah.
We would adjust it according to what's needed.
Okay. So it still would be accessible.
Accessible.
If we had snow like
And-
last year and we
and-
didn't plow it, forget about it.
Right, and cars off the road,
Yes,
which is
exactly.
important for safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So when would we do this? Schedule this meeting?
Well, if it's gonna be a public hearing, it would be
Yeah.
at one of your regular meetings.
It'd be a-
That's actually, if
Okay.
it's going to be an official public hearing, it has to be at a regular
So
meeting.
could we maybe say, like, in January, we'll get these updated ideas?
So then
And
our
maybe in
February
February, we invite people in to,
That would be kind of we'd try to shoot for that timeline, assuming that, staff has the time to.
so
be able to get it
then
all
from
together and
there, we
stuff.
bring it to council, and then it can be ordered in time for install, and
And then at the same time, those street signs.
The street, yeah.
Yeah, and let's decide a name for the park too. So we can decide that.
yeah, what,
In there somewhere?
yeah,
Yeah, we could do that.
yeah.
Sounds good. So then it'll go on our agenda for
public
February.
hearing, are we asking the public to a thumbs up or thumbs down to sledding? Or is this information to
I think it's
give
just
them, or-
feedback,
or
open
what?
feedback, open
Usually-
forum feedback.
So it'll be a line item on our agenda that says open forum discussing the sledding hill.
Usually when we have a public hearing on something, it's like, are we gonna grant a variance, or are we gonna build a road? And then you get the people's comment, and then the people, whoever's
committee
in charge
chooses.
vote. So is the question thumbs up or thumbs down on sledding? Is that the question?
I think there,
Michael, do
the
you know from
council
the
member
council- for
that
feedback.
spoke with me is just getting feedback because feedback wasn't asked for previously when we've done projects or labeling things or expanding things. And so it's just getting a feedback loop back to this committee, and people have opportunity to,
Which then we consider before making the final decision or recommendation to the council. Great, yep,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just making it,
I mean, I
trying
feel
to be
like-
transparent, and this is what we're thinking of doing.
I know we did talk about it in our open forum when we discussed all the possibilities for the disc golf course. All these things came up, so it's not like these came out of nowhere. We have been talking about them for a while, but I agree. I think it's a good idea after thinking
We're
about it
learning
a little
from-
more.
yeah.
Just why not?
Yep.
We're not going to speed anything through, and I
just
know.
wanted clarification of
Yeah.
what we are asking. Thumbs up, thumbs down, to sledding, and.
We're not
No,
asking. I
it's
think we're just putting it out there.
presenting,
We're
it's
just
presenting, this is what we're thinking. Would you give us feedback, please?
Okay.
And maybe we'll get some other
Yeah,
excellent
ideas, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, can we move along to, are we ready to move on to 8? Everybody?
Thank you,
Old
Joe,
Chirilla, yeah.
for all the work.
And I think you're going to be our go-to on this one, too. The Chirilla Trail update.
Yes, so you guys had asked that we look into what's going on with the Chiarella Forest Management Area and questions of ownership, and maybe if the DNR might be willing to have the city take it over, and what's going on with the trail, stuff like that. Joe did a whole bunch of exploration, talked to some people, followed up, and kind of came through and looked at it. It's a complicated story. I'll let you take it, Joe, if you want to talk about it, and then if you want me to take anything, let me know.
Sure. Essentially, the guy at the DNR Forestry that answered the questions that were posed to me about the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway, I have his email here, and it was a legal trail system. Kind of just one of those things that happened without their knowledge. The forestry's, generally speaking, pretty limited staff. I mean, they care about timber management. It's not like they're not trails and parks. They don't do a lot of managing outside of, and that's what this area is timber management. He was very clear about that. That is its use, and that's what they do with it. It's there to have trees harvest. And then since it was donated to them, asking about the upkeep, and that's where he said forestry is not recreation. They're not funded to do any of those things. That's the park and trails, but it wasn't donated to them, essentially. And then as far as what could be done, he said there's a discussing a lease to do walking trails. He was pretty clear that the walking trails had to be primitive, but he did not specify what primitive is, like can we establish them with equipment or not? If we can't use equipment, we're 20 times more productive with a skid steer than we are with hands. He said clearly no paved surfaces, stuff like that. Width was six foot or so. And then he was also very clear that when forestry operations, the trail would suffer, essentially. If the trail's in the way, they're still gonna do what
They have to do.
forestry work. And then Neil actually went out to the site a little bit. He described it kind of open. The old trail's kind of, it looks like it's obstructed from forestry work. They did some thinning on some of the pine trees. So I guess the question would be, you know, ultimately all we can do right now is, you know, is that something you want to investigate more? See the details of
Investigate what part? A lease?
lease, trails, see all the strings and needles, ask the questions of, you know, what is, spell out what a primitive trail, like, does that mean no aggregate? Is it those kinds of things? Because if they're talking, you know, if you can't mow it or you can't, like, I didn't get into what a primitive trail means. Like if
Right.
foot traffic is essentially what keeps it open and we have to pick sticks off it, or, you know, if we use equipment that makes it more manageable.
All right, what do people think?
I don't think it makes sense to pursue it.
I would think maybe put our energies into
Yeah,
expanding our
other
other trails than, but,
Well, and what's currently there, this actually makes a lot of sense because it doesn't feel well planned out, even just accessing what's there. So this kind of makes sense to me, like why it doesn't, because it wasn't really a planned trail system to start with. So
I've been looking at it for years,
Yeah.
and I've ridden my bike over there, and there is on Google Maps, it directs you to a parking lot, some parking spaces, so apparently at some time there was a parking space or two there, I don't know. And then the sign leads you to believe there's trails in there. And I looked and I don't see anything. So
Yeah,
that's why
interesting.
77 acres, we thought, geez, if we can at least just have a walking trail in there, that'd be nice. Now, the only thing they would do is log, so that'd be take more trees out. That
Leave
just
the
opens up
slash.
more walking trails.
but then you got all the
Slash.
stuff.
yeah,
So they don't clean up that stuff.
Not usually.
Probably not. If
Is
it's,
it considered then like kind of private land? I mean, residents could
huntable.
go over and walk through there anyway, right?
Yep.
You can.
Yeah.
Yep. It's open to like any other forestry land.
Yeah.
It just has, it's kind of unique because a lot of times forestry land was bigger parcels like further north.
Yeah.
And that a family donated specifically, but public access, you know, can access it for mushrooming, whatever. Is
Hunting
there
too, hunting.
some, yeah, I believe there's restrictions on it. I think bird shot maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look up the specific details, but.
Joe, did he say that it would be allowed to be leased to the city of Breezy Point? Because I know way back, there was some really bitter feelings, and it was going to come to the city, and then it went to the DNR, that property. So I thought
I will read
possibly
it.
we were precluded even from doing anything.
How he specifically addressed it is DNR Forestry is open to discussing a lease to the city of Breezy Point for a walking trail system on state forest land. We will need to ensure that the lease is allowed under deed restrictions of the gift and that it will not interfere with forest management on the property.
So the other possibility that might be interesting to look into is there's a DNR school forest program in which there's funding available for that, which we don't have in the Pequot Lake School District. A lot of schools do. But it'd be interesting to look at if, because that's DNR land, if they might be interested in partnering with the school district on that, which would then make it a little more. And then maybe we could collaborate with them on some of the maintenance with that, with the equipment. So that might be interesting.
Would that be the DNR Park and Trails that do that kind
Yeah,
of stuff?
yeah. There's actually a school
was it like
forest
an
program.
internship? Or they,
So they, help with signing, and then, it's opening it up for kids to get kids outside and use that as a scientific area and things. So that would be something I would be interested in digging into a little bit more.
I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah, because that might
do you
be,
have a contact or?
so, and it might be a way to not, take that off of us right here, but still make more use of that area because it's such a beautiful space.
I like that idea.
Did you say you had a contact for
I do.
that person? Could you
do.
would it be okay if you forwarded that over to staff?
Yep, I sure can do that.
That would be helpful.
All right.
So I'll reach out and then I can report back on what I find out.
Okay, so with that in mind, just a couple things. Obviously, this information does change some things in the master planning process that we're doing right now. We can't leave the Chiarella Forest in its current form in the master plan because
Right.
it's not ours and they told us no. So, but that doesn't mean we can't mention it in the master plan. If you guys wanted to put something in future planning about exploring that lease or possibly have Mr. Trotter come back next time with maybe some information on that or maybe like something like that, that we could do in the future planning
So it
section.
stays on the radar.
So that it could stay on the radar. I
I
could
think so.
shift it down into the future planning section if you guys are comfortable with that and
Sure.
try to maybe work on it, work with her and try to craft some stuff maybe or go from there. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I'm going to have
It's
to remove
gonna-
that
yeah,
section,
that's fine.
unfortunately.
That's fine. And why not let them do their due diligence on their end and see what all that deed says? I mean, let him do the work on, not Joe, but the other guy, whoever
Right.
person is. You know, let's pursue that, Joe, and let them see, you know,
If there's, you know,
would say if that
the legality
program-
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want us spending a lot of, like, yeah,
Right.
I'm losing my words, but
We know what you mean.
You know,
Just out of curiosity.
Gotcha.
Do you folks get asked a lot, we need more trails by the community? I mean, I'm just asking. No one's ever come up to me and asked me that.
I think there's a lot of interest in connecting the Paul Bunyan Trail to our city. I've heard that for years.
I've heard people not wanting to walk on the streets, wish there was a place to go and not be in the.
yes, I have
Yeah.
heard that.
I mean, I
it
go.
can be different than trails, though, you know? I mean,
Right.
I go all over to walk on trails. So yesterday I went, we drove up to Walker and went on the Shingleby Trail. Me and 4 other people. And last Friday we went over to Mission Park. And if you'd like to see a really nice city park really close to here, Mission
Right.
is
It's really nice.
unbelievable. Beautiful ski trails that they track. It's all flat in there, so it's great for, and it's wooded, it's beautiful. And then we hiked those trails, and they made a gnome trail in there. It was adorable. And we talked about kind of, you know, maybe we could do a little part of our trail with something like that, like they have at, would you say like Calhoun, they have that little tree that has a hole going in there and a door on it, and kids can leave
Nail.
notes and
Yeah.
stuff. So, you know, those kind of things. And they redid all their signs for their trails. They did a really nice job. So I took pictures of those. Their signage, they just redid it over at Mission Park. And they do have no hunting allowed all over the place in there on their signs.
getting back to what Bill said, though, I really don't hear a lot of people talking about trails.
Well, nationally, everyone, the consensus is people need to be outdoors more and in nature more. And I think that's kind of in our mission statement, which we said we wanted to encourage for people. So
I think it can be something in our, to keep on our radar, like we have it very clear to expand and add more trails, but I also don't want us to get too far in the weeds on one specific. We've got a lot of things and a lot of ideas that we've come up with that I would like to put more energy into those than.
I think what we just said, though, is there won't be very much. If that's a dead end, it'll be dropped, and
Right,
just see
yeah.
what he says on that
Yep.
end, and it's in our future plans.
Right. And I do think that, I'm going to lose my train of thought here, but I think that trying to keep options for people close by, because I know that our family is like yours, that we drive a lot of distance to access hiking trails and skiing trails. And having that right here would really be a nice amenity for
The
us.
popularity of the Fire Tower Trail.
Exactly.
It's
There- yeah.
jammed all the time now, and that was just developed. It wasn't that popular 2 years ago, and it's busy all the time now. So there is a large demand for it. It's just, you got to build it and they will come. And you got to tell them where it is. And that's obvious, because you can see it from the road.
Right, right.
All right. Anything else for old
Okay, so
business?
staff's gonna go back, explore some stuff. We'll, I guess, coordinate, and maybe ask some more questions about the lease thing.
Yeah.
You're okay with us spending a little bit of time on that?
Maybe how much they would charge.
Yeah.
They would
A couple
charge.
$100.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
Okay, and we'll work with Committee Member Trotter here to
Gather more
gather more information on the education
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, moving on to staff reports.
Yes, that would be me. Okay, so a couple quick things, just to talk with you guys about what's kind of going on internally here. So I do have to apologize. We got very busy over November between David on paternity leave and everything going on with the city hall and a whole bunch of other projects. I didn't get much done with the master plan. So obviously I didn't bring it before you guys tonight. The original plan was to bring it for you guys tonight so that you could look at it and then council would approve it and try to fast track it. I just didn't get it done. So I'm gonna, right now, my plan is hopefully to have it before you guys next month in January. And then we'll go through it, bring it before council. Prediction right now is probably they're gonna wanna do public hearing, maybe a workshop on the master plan itself, based upon comments I've had talking with council members. So that'll happen maybe February, March, and then they'll approve March, April, somewhere around there. That's kind of where we're headed right now. I just wanted to make sure you guys got that update. So hopefully I'll have it before you next month. If it gets delayed again, I'll send you guys an email to let you know. And we'll go from there. Obviously, that does, of course, push back the CIP a little bit as well, based upon what we originally planned. We were going to do the capital improvement plan after the council approved the master plan. You know, now that we've kind of pushed that out a month because of staff busyness, that'll get pushed out a little bit as well. So, again, I apologize. We'll get it moving hopefully as fast as we can and get it back before you guys. The last item I wanted to go over was the mapping stuff. So David and I have been talking in the background about kind of what our options are for mapping and what's going on in the city with, you know, all the maps and stuff. We kind of have come in conversation between myself and the administrator to, we need to do we personally feel like we need to do something a little heftier than just kind of pulling maps off of GIS and kind of coloring things, because I don't think that's really going to give us what we need, because we don't actually have any like actual maps of the park dedicated land that you can actually like pull out on like the plans or anything and look at and like, oh, that's the park. That's what the overlay of the park looks like. Brainerd did a project on their maps for parkland dedication stuff a couple years back. They were actually in a very similar position to us, where they had a bunch of land that wasn't dedicated properly and they weren't sure what was going on with it and all that stuff. So we're kind of looking into what are the options to kind of do a bunch of that, excuse me, similar to kind of what they did, so that we can start getting that moving. It also is helpful, though, that we're talking about this now, because obviously our new planning and zoning administrator starts in January. And one of his first projects is going to be ordinances, and one of the first things you consider around there is zoning maps and various other maps. So right now we're kind of going to hold out until January on some of that, and we're going to talk to Mr. Gansley when he gets here. And coordinate with him. He'll know more, to be honest, about the specifics of kind of the process for this and how to navigate your way through it and those things. And we'll kind of get the ball rolling with him. Don't know exactly when we'll bring that project back with more information on a definitive plan on like, this is what we recommend doing, because obviously he's going to have to be trained in, and we're going to have to go through stuff with him and work it all out. But we'll get that done in the background. Hopefully we'll get that ball rolling and be able to bring it back to you sometime, I would hope, kind of like Q2 2024 would be optimal if we could do it. But that'll depend upon a lot of varying things. So that's kind of where we are with that. We are coordinating on it internally. We just got to figure out those details. And obviously, I'm sure once we get our new planning and zoning administrator, some of that will pick up a lot faster. I'm not a GIS expert, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing with it. I can push buttons and bring things up, and David knows what he's doing as well, but is also not really truly trained on it full-bodied. So we'll do what we can in the meantime to kind of help cover stuff, and then hopefully once he starts on January 2nd, we'll get rolling on that sooner rather than later. So
Sounds good.
that's all I got for now. I know some of you guys had committee reports and stuff that you wanted to talk about, though.
On the scheduling, the finalization of the Parks and Rec Master Plan is now going to be scheduled for January, the January Parks meeting?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get it done by
Are
then.
you saying that same meeting, when it's like our first looking at it and first discussion of this new product, that's also the public hearing?
No.
No,
That was
no,
going
no,
to be
no,
February.
no.
Okay, that's-
No,
We're
gonna
so,
get
so
back
what's
the
going to
info.
happen is you guys, so I've talked to this about a couple council members. I don't actually want to hold the public hearing on the master plan until it's finalized and you guys are okay with it and you're recommending, hey, this be the master plan now. So that when we do hold the public hearing or the workshop or whatever the council decides to do, there's going to be a firm document from the 7 of you that's like, hey, you know, we're in some level of agreement that this is what we're okay with. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
we
And
need to
then
get our
the
eyes on
council
that.
will probably hold a workshop or a public hearing or something at that point to talk further with the public directly about what they want. And then the council will decide if they're okay with it or if they want to kick it back to you guys for further discussion or things like that. Because what it comes down to is I just didn't want to put out a document that was like half done to the public and be like, what's everybody think? Because everyone's going to be like, Dan, what is this insanity? So we're going to finish that first. And then if you guys are okay with it in January, then we'll take that as a recommendation to council and we'll say to council, hey, this is, you know, their kind of recommendation draft. What do you think? Do you want to take public comment now and go from there? And then we'll go through that process and it'll go back and forth. Now, if you guys read it in January and you're like, Dan, you're stupid, I hate it, fix it all, then it'll get delayed further back because I'll have to go through and make changes which can be done. My hope right now is that I will get the master plan done towards the end of this month when things quiet down a little bit around Christmas. And then I'll get the draft of that out to all the 7 of you so you guys have some time to review
Yeah, I'd
it
like
and
to be
read
able
it
to review
yourselves.
it.
Yes,
Before
ahead of
our
the
meeting.
January meeting.
Yeah.
So that you guys can read it and review it so you can come
Get our
into the
eyes on
January
it.
meeting with comments and
Okay.
then we can kind of try to figure out where to go from there.
Okay.
That's my hope right now.
Sounds good.
The problem, if we have a lot to go back and forth, even February might be too soon for it to
Might
go
be.
to council.
It could be,
Well,
yes,
we've
if
only
it's,
had one
yeah.
meeting.
And it's 100% up to you guys. If we have it on January and that's the final and you guys are really unhappy with it and you're saying, you know, Dan, we really need to change this, you know, bad job, then yeah, it'll get delayed a little longer, but that's 100% your prerogative. That's why I want to get it to you guys early enough so that you can review it for the meeting, so that you can give me your feedback there
the
at the meeting.
feedback, yeah.
I can make the changes and then we can go at it again.
Okay.
And we can take as long as on this as you guys want. There's no like time limit. Like if you, it can keep going until you guys are comfortable with it. Once you guys are comfortable with a recommendation, then we'll give it to council and we'll say, okay, now we've got this document that's a recommendation. Now let's start thinking about maybe taking public comment on it, because if you give, like I said, it's a little weird to give people a not finished thing and
Yeah.
be like, what do you think? Once it's done and people can pick it up and it's physical and they read it, they can go, oh, well, I don't like that, but I like that. Then they can come forward and talk about it at that point.
Sounds good.
We could also have another workshop to finish the master plan if
Yes,
we want to.
absolutely.
Yeah, in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Committee member reports.
Well, I just wanted to talk about pickleball because we had kind of talked about that as an idea for our master plan. And I got some numbers from 50 Lakes. I know one of the council members there, and they did put in courts last year. They had planned to put in 4, but they ended up with 2. And it was 39,000, and I think I forwarded
Can you
that.
say that again?
39,000.
39? Okay.
Did I send that to you, Daniel?
You did. It was just
Okay.
over 39. I think it was like 39,600.
Yeah, it had the
for
breakdown of, so
Yeah,
he's
and-
got the
yeah.
breakdown of
I've
like
got the
what
breakdown. I just
the
hadn't.
fencing, the
yeah.
court and all that.
Okay.
Yep, that is
And
correct.
then they had gotten that grant through Sourcewell for 21,000 of that.
Exactly. Yes, that's the next thing I was going to, yep.
Yes, yeah. I think I shared that the last
Down to
meeting.
2.
Yeah,
They wanted 4.
right.
Okay.
So, I mean, we kind of should know how much room we have, and were you thinking, like, where were you thinking of that?
I don't,
Yeah, you had said the pickleball. Had you an idea about where you were thinking?
I thought maybe the new parking lot possibly up there. We'd have to pave it, of course, but that would give credence to it being used for just other than,
So over at the Park and Rec area, not here?
no,
Okay.
a new parking lot.
Oh,
I was just reading about, communities putting in pickleball courts, and one of the number one problems is sound. That it's very
oh,
loud.
like in the middle of the neighborhood?
tank, yeah.
And that's what happens at council meetings, like what's happened. So to take it in, we should really take that into consideration
Yeah.
before we even move forward with anything.
Would it be better somewhere here where there's more,
Yeah, that's what I was
Right.
thinking, but I didn't know you were thinking over there. But then if it's here, we should think, look at where and how many we could even fit in, and Joe would have to give us an idea of
the
that.
other, yeah.
I was thinking back with the basketball courts, kind of.
Right, that's
Was
where
that what you were
I've been thinking,
Okay.
yeah.
So then maybe, you have to look at what the dimensions are, and
We had this discussion.
you have, okay.
ago.
Yeah.
I investigated Cross Lakes pickleball court costs. I want to say Mission Township had a tennis.
Oh, they got a
court.
Yeah,
bunch.
they had tennis.
And then they added more pickleball.
And at that time,
It's
Cross
crazy.
Lakes, what they have presently was 100,000. Yeah. The discussion was back somewhere
Okay.
by the salt sand shed behind the ball field, not too far away from the bathroom, things like that.
Yeah, it hadn't, it just hadn't floated to the top of a priority at the time. But
Were they thinking 2, or were they thinking 4?
I forget.
Can't remember.
Courts does Cross Lake?
Cross Lake has 4, at least.
But they were adding more, I thought, that.
Oh, they've got a lot
they
more
were
than that
looking
now.
at.
Cross Lake?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they
I
had,
think originally it was 4, and I met with TJ and talked details with him, and it, but.
I think they have 8 now, plus a stadium for people to watch it from.
no, it's such a big sport.
Yeah,
It never made it high enough on the list, I guess.
okay.
Well, maybe just looking at the space that's back there, seeing if we could fit, how many we could fit. And then we could put that into our master plan as an
Or the CIP, yeah.
idea. And then we know kind of the cost. That's the most updated, it's the newest with the money, And then the Sourcewell getting that grant. That was big.
Well, and is the Sourcewell grant just for pickleball courts? Because we've also talked about making that one playground more of a nature center
Right.
too. And, which thing do we
Tap into them.
tap into them or use it in multiple places to do multiple projects? And
Well, we had talked earlier, we felt like, I'll talk for me.
yeah,
It'd be great to do something good at Sad Park, but how many people will really, really use it to put a lot of energy into that little park? I really wonder how many people, if we put a bunch of money into that, will it really draw people there when we have this, amazing park right here? I don't know. I tend to think that park wouldn't get used no matter what, very
And
much.
mine, if it's a totally new direction to go in, like she was talking about by the school.
and it's amazing, like, I know there was costs to it, but it's way different than like putting new playground equipment. I mean, you're paying for some logs and some
Rocks.
rocks and building tunnels, you're moving dirt. I think it's less costly, but I think it can
Thinking
still
about
be
it this way, okay, if we want to make a big splash and we want to make an impact and we want it to be easy for people to get what they can, a variety in one spot. We put the, if we end up with the pickleball courts, if we end up with a skating rink, the garden, make cool, maybe an ADA, continue the path through, because we don't have a lot of room for a walking path, but at least that could be our one ADA area, because we're certainly not going to be doing it at the other
Right.
park. Any of them are too hilly. This could be a really, and then if we get the new city center, this is our offices, this is a cool spot. You know, this is an impact spot, and we see it, and everyone knows where it is, and we use it, and a lot of variety here. It could be really
It used to be called the
impactful.
city campus.
Right.
That was the idea.
Yep. So, you know, we have other ideas, but maybe we focus our priorities like we've been prioritizing. It's still on the list, but it moves back, and the other things become a priority, so we can make this really good here. I kind of like that
I think
idea.
that's up
That's kind of
for-
exciting to me.
Yeah, I like that idea because we don't have a town.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't have
So
a,
this is our city center.
so this could be such a cool.
I see that, and I want more time to think about it too. I don't think it's something that we need to decide right now, but, because we're not at that point of
Right.
prioritizing which of those things is top, but
But we're
it's
getting
something to
there. I mean,
consider.
at our
Yeah.
next meeting, we have to put it into priorities. But, so then, I mean, you know, we're all thinking about this stuff all the time as we're going places and doing things, and that just clicked in even more today as we talked about it, and makes sense to me.
You know what it costs to put that one in at the school?
I could find out.
Yeah, we can find that out. I don't know the cost, but I can find out.
I could find out. prior.
Crest Lake has 6 pickleball courts and plus tennis courts.
Right.
So I just looked it up.
Yeah, tennis courts.
And then they've got indoors. They've got
not
at least
go
3.
inside.
They've got 3 indoors too.
Yeah, and 3 indoors, 6 outdoor and 3 indoor.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other committee reports? I'll just be last on my piece.
I was just gonna, I had presented to the city about the community garden again, but I did it as a resident, not as a member of the Park and Rec. And I'm wondering where you guys stand on, you know, right now, the council has asked that we bring in TJ from Cross Lake to the next meeting so they could ask him questions about Cross Lake Community Garden. I just heard back from him today, and he said that he can't, he won't. But I had also contacted all the, Daniel and I had met, and I discussed sending out an email to all the council members to have questions, have their questions. so
Collect
we would be
questions.
prepared.
Okay.
Yeah, what they really want to get out of him coming, if he came. And so he said he would answer those questions. I've heard from 2 members so far. So we could, you know, have that information. But I'm just, it's kind of a weird spot for me because I am going there to those meetings as a resident, but it is kind of a Park and Rec thing.
Well, I think it's been on our radar. I mean, I think it's a project we would like to do. I just don't know
Well, you know what?
the exact month or, but like, I do think it's
Council is
one of
really-
the,
Well,
If we're doing
maybe
some kind of
you
public
can speak to
meeting where
that.
they come and talk about up sledding and such, why don't we
That could
put
be
that
one of the
question
things.
also?
Excellent.
get
Why
feedback,
don't we put
yeah.
that also to the public? See if there's interest.
Especially
We
since
have
you said
no-
you'd run it.
no
I mean,
knowledge.
That was huge, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, for a few years, for sure, just to, I mean, I would definitely take over the administration part of it.
I don't think it's a nay,
'Cause we've
it's just
never
we hadn't gotten there
talked
yet,
about it.
kind of a thing.
About your feedback on
Oh,
the,
yeah, I had put did a informal survey on Nextdoor, which can be
Yeah.
interesting. But anyway, and I asked 2 questions. One, do they think a community garden in Breezy Point would be a good idea? And then the second question was, would you utilize a plot? Consider utilizing a plot? And it was 100%, there was like 25, 30 people, I think, that responded, and it was 100% yes, they'd like to see it.
that's encouraging.
And then there was only a couple people that said, I would for sure. There was a person who said, oh boy, I would have, but I put a garden in my yard. Now there were a couple people said, I go to Pine River and Cross Lake now. And I would love to have one local. One person said something which I thought was really, really cool is, now there's a way to bring a community together. You know, so, anyway, that's just a little, that was very informal, obviously, but I just thought I'd throw it out there to people, and that's what I got back from it.
That's public input.
Yeah, yeah, so anyway,
I think we will want to make sure, though, it is beyond just that audience. We'll want to make sure, I think, getting feedback, more feedback from all residents having the opportunity,
yeah,
I
the
think that'd be
council has
good.
asked me to pursue it, so, Michael, do you have any more information about it? Like what the council's,
Nothing more. I mean, what you see is what we discussed. We don't talk about it. We can't, right? Open meeting laws. So yeah, it really, that was a discussion point. I know we as in the Parks Committee, you had a thorough investigation. Joe brought some numbers, did the whole presentation, and as the Park Committee, who said pause it to work through the master plan, capital improvement plan. So that's where kind of, in my mind, where it was, is there's going to
Yes.
be, and it's built into the master plan. The kind of question is if it's a park thing still, which in my opinion, my personal opinion, it is still a parks item, is where does it fall within your capital improvement plan for the
Right.
parks? Where does it fall? Does
Priority.
pickleball trump a community garden, or does community garden trump the pickleball? And that's one of the things I think that the park committee really needs to focus in on once that master plan is developed, is that what's that capital improvement plan? Where do you want to slot what takes priority? So in my mind, it's still a parks thing. I appreciate as a resident coming in and presenting it, but the question comes in then, in my mind, is it a parks? Does parks still want to maintain that and have a say in it? Or do you want to say Parks doesn't want it and let a resident pursue it? That's where I draw a question of where,
I still
Is it a
see it
park
as a
thing or
perks
personal?
thing. I think it's exactly what you were just saying. It's like, we got to get this master plan done. And then that's the next step in my brain is like prioritizing what are our next projects.
We did
So
put the money in.
I don't
for
want it to leave our view. I want to keep it.
I like the idea, but I'm not sure I put it under Parks umbrella, because if there's only 36, which is, I think, 36 plots you talked about in what you presented us, that amount of money for 36 families or people, I can't justify when, $50,000 could maybe do the little park twice over for, practically infinite number of kids who might want to come there, little guys.
we're
Well,
also
we don't
talking-
have to have this,
Yeah, that's not for tonight.
So
Yeah.
that's where I'm
Yeah.
not convinced it is parks, because I don't think there's enough widespread use for the general public. But the idea is good. If the city council says, hey, let's have a committee of people, and we'll have a garden club that we're gonna,
Yeah.
is gonna be a part of it, I'm okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we're still fundraising, and, it seems, we've looked at all the other cities, and it's all under their parks and rec.
Yeah.
And so what we need is, we need the land, we need the spot approved, and
we need it
council
set
needs
as
to-
priority though, if
Right.
that's
If it is our priority, we need the land first, and then we need to know the cost
Yeah, the decider.
exactly. So we kind of had general costs, and we
it
maybe,
hasn't been turned over to us, though. Right?
I mean,
right now.
Angel told me we could start fundraising
can-
for it right now if we wanted to.
Who
She
said
said
that?
it's in your hands. Angel, you can start fundraising for it.
well,
We're looking for grants.
I think we need to get A, B, C, and D done before we are, because we haven't even said that, as a group, we haven't voted on that's
Well, we haven't been directed,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
But aren't there certain
Yeah.
ways how we can receive money?
So I don't know what the mayor has said. She has not communicated to me about anything. I will say, I mean, you
can't.
guys could fundraise if you want, but the city at this point wouldn't receive those funds. Not right now. I would need to talk to Jeanette Rust, our finance specialist, about that, to make sure that the accounts are set up and that we're following legal procedure and all those kinds of things. I know we can't accept donations for things, so maybe there's something that could do with donations. I would,
Yeah, like the
there's a lot I
the
would need to
Pelican
do.
Conservation Club, I mean, going, asking, would you be? if
You can
would
ask people
Give to a
about it
garden
and-
if we
and
were going
talk.
to put a garden in? Would you?
I would like to do that, though, I guess, as a committee. Like, I would like to be banded together, and this is a project that we're pursuing,
Definitely.
so.
So, just for clarification, are we approaching this, if you're going to get donations and asking people for money, it's
I don't
not
think we're
as
there.
our committee, because we have not
Right.
voted, that we haven't had any say, on this. But if they're going to the mayor and the mayor's telling them to go get money, I think that's as a citizen, not as the park.
Right.
Right.
That would be consistent with my understanding right now, yeah.
But I think, my thought is we don't go after, I mean, we can talk to people, I can talk to people, you can, anybody can, and see if there are people who would donate so that when we do talk to the city council, which I kind of have done, I just, I called about, we were talking mulch and how mulch can be so expensive, and I called Crowing Power, and they would be willing to donate or just drop off wood chips by as much as we need, and they would even bring it here. So that was like a $5,000 thing, as an example. I called a bunch of different, Fleet Farm and Tractor Supply, and, do they have a donation program, and they do. So there was that kind of stuff. But I think until we have land, there's no
Well,
sense.
there's space, I think, right?
Well,
But we
yeah,
have
I
to
guess if
we have
council
to
wants to
be-
do it, they can choose it, and
Right.
they're doing that.
Told that that's okay, that we plan that for that. That's not, until we get that from the council.
Right, until the council says, yes, okay, move forward, and there's the land, and then they
Anything.
decide if it comes to Park and Rec. So like, I just don't agree with going out and trying to get,
Right.
until we even have land.
Yes, Bill?
I was just gonna say real quick, I spoke to this person, I don't remember her name now, from Church of the Cross over in, who they started.
Yeah, you gave me your info.
I gave you a number, she gave me 7, 8 websites.
Yeah.
But they started with 8,000, and they got DNR grants, and I forget the other
Yeah.
places, but they had all sorts of money, and then as it grew, community members brought in,
Breaking in.
stands for free.
Tools
People
and-
wanted it to be nice. 12-foot
Solar
fence
panel.
around it. I mean, it's huge.
They have a solar panel, yeah.
I just, if we do find the land and if we prioritize it, I think it would come in pretty handy, we have the expertise to write some of these grants. And so
Right.
Right.
that would be, I don't think it would cost the city 50, I don't believe, I think we can get it done for
Oh.
8 to 10 and then start writing these grants.
That's what we're talking about, because when it comes down to it, everyone's like, but then how much money does it cost? Well, then we have to know if we're going to get some things for free, we have to find out about these donations and things kind of informally, so we can know what the bottom line is that we're going to present that we
That's
need
kinda
in the
chicken
bottom
egg
line.
thing
So
again. Yeah.
you can't sit there and wait till the last minute until everything's dotted and crossed and then go look after money, because we can't give you a number then. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of confusing.
Well, it's like I told, when I had presented to the council the last time, I had said, the goal was to receive $50,000 from the city. Okay, but my intention is to not spend a dime of that money and try to go out, get grants, donations, and everything. But, if they were gonna go ahead and approve it, say if the council was gonna approve it, I had to know the money was there in the
Right.
beginning, but
Right.
the true intention is to make sure that hopefully it doesn't cost the city,
Well, and I would like to see it still part of parks. That's something that's been on our radar. That's just my personal opinion. Everyone doesn't have to agree.
Yep.
I think it needs to be one of our, we're going to have to sort out what our priorities are, because we can't do it all at once. But I see that rising to the top of one of our priorities. But obviously,
I
that's a
would-
committee
I would agree with that.
decision.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
And we will be giving to the food shelf a lot. We gave 900 pounds away across.
see, and
the-
I think that has impact beyond.
That's what I mean. It's
Right.
it's more than just the few families, the 50 families or 36
Or
that are
have a
there.
farmer's market in the parking lot,
Exactly.
get paid.
We could do that, but we would like to give away as much as we can.
Cool. Is that what you're kind of looking for, Sandy? Like getting a vibe for, okay.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what I was actually looking
Okay.
for, but I just wanted, you know, you to know that I did go to the
Affirmation,
city.
yeah.
And that,
And what our next steps are.
yeah,
You know.
just throwing out what I said.
Were you thinking to restrict it to Breezy citizens and
No,
to
no,
be
no.
taxpayer supported?
I think it's open to anyone.
It's first come, it's first come, first serve, and if we have a deluge, then I think we could say Breezy Point first. If we're deluged with people, then they would have a priority.
There were people there was one person, I should say, on that next door that Pequot, I would love it, we don't have one here. And, you know, I mean, this is reaching a very few people really in the
But-
scheme of things. So, you know, I mean, all we can show the committee and the council is what's going on in other communities and how popular it is. And then, you know, I mean, we just have to go through the channels and see if it flies.
Yeah.
So our next step we're saying is we want to add this to the February workshop where we're talking about the sledding hill, the snowshoeing, and the garden.
I think we have to
get
do our
public comment.
priorities first and then add it.
Or get some public.
Just public
let
comment.
public be
We're getting
clued
it
in that
already
this is
from her, but
discussed
it's
and
just
see
open
what
for
they
public
say.
Whenever
comment,
we
so it's
have
not
a
the first
feedback
time.
session,
We'll have it again probably.
Okay, so just, so we're talking about, we're talking about doing a separate workshop in February, as a unique meeting to talk about, I guess,
I think we're still
it's
going to be doing
attached
our
to it.
master plan stuff. I mean,
Well, 'cause we haven't seen
realistically.
it yet.
Yeah.
Or
I
this
think
is
we'll-
attached to our regular meeting, what we were saying, it's on our
Does a
February
public-
agenda.
I think a public hearing has to be part of a regular meeting.
Okay, slow down. The public hearing that we're talking about, that staff is talking about, needs to be specific to the master plan. You can't have a public hearing on just anything you want,
Can't
kind of
just tap
willy-nilly.
things
It
on.
has to have a specific topic, and it has to be limited within that. And a
So is
public
that-
hearing is a specific type of legal proceeding in a way,
Mm-hmm.
to invite people in to give comment on a specific topic that is, in this case, would be a binding document for the city in a way, because it's a master plan. It's not like
Is that
a
you're
normal
talking about the
thing.
hearing for the sledding hill to get the public comment?
That's what that's where I'm confused.
Well, there's
here.
like 3 different
Yeah, what's,
feedback.
what do we
things.
need
I
to
think we're
have?
talking about two different things. Councilman Maroney?
Yeah, what do we need to do here?
So earlier on, you mentioned that you talked to Mr. Chansky, and he's talked with council, that if we pursue with the sledding hill
I see, yes.
and the snowshoeing, is to hold a public hearing to discuss
Right.
that.
Yes, okay.
When would you like to have that?
That particular public hearing for the sledding hill and the snowshoeing, that would need to be, yeah, probably around February then.
Okay.
Okay.
So now the topic is moving into master plan.
Yes.
So January, your concept was to bring back the master plan and have it in front of them weeks ahead so that comments can be fulfilled in the Parks
Yeah,
and Rec Committee
that's
in
January.
January.
Yes.
And if it looks good from there, when would you hold a public hearing to adopt from the Parks and Rec? When would you have that public hearing
Gotcha, for the master plan?
for the master plan? When would that public hearing be?
Okay, that public hearing would need to be set by you guys as council.
So Parks
in the
and
way
Rec
that
does
we
not
are-
have a public hearing for
Yes.
feedback.
Because they do a recommendation to council, and then it goes before council, and then council will say, hey, we want public comment on this finalized document.
So what I'm hearing is if January all change it, let's say everybody was okay with it, it could be forwarded to council come February for a public hearing at the council meeting potentially.
Potentially, yes.
Otherwise, March or April, pending what changes need to be made.
Yes.
And at that point, we could talk about anything that was in that master plan at that public hearing.
Which will be a city council
At
public
a,
hearing.
yeah, not our public hearing, but city council.
That public hearing at
or
city
would be
council
separate?
will be purely on what's in the master plan.
Yes. So if the garden's in the master plan, if the pickleball's in the master plan, if the sledding hill's in the master plan, any of those
All
things
be
would be
under-
up for discussion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Once
it could be, yeah.
Be a
Once
long one.
master plan is approved by the city council, then Parks and Rec will then have a direction to work on their capital improvement plan.
Yes.
That's when you start prioritizing. After the master plan has been approved by the council at the public hearing, Parks and Rec will then clarify what the capital improvement plan is.
Yep.
Now, once the capital improvement plan is signed off on the parks, is that another public hearing to approve the capital improvement plan or just pass to the council for?
At that point, my recommendation would just be to pass it to the council. And then if you guys wanted to do another one, you could, but
Not generally.
yeah, not January.
Does that, no, generally, it's not a public hearing.
Yeah, not generally.
Yeah, not
Yes.
talking months.
I see, yes.
Does that clarify?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Does that help? Okay.
So the earliest we would do would be like March then, for our master plan public hearing. And you said it's separate from?
They will do it.
Oh, they will do
The
it.
city council.
Council.
Council does.
We'll do a park and rec master plan,
Yep, come
Open.
January. Yep, if you
just
were,
specifically for Parks and Rec?
No.
For everything on the,
the public hearing will be just for the master plan.
Master plan.
But it's part of a council meeting. It's not a separate meeting. It's during a council meeting.
the public
Correct.
hearing is within the councils?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it'll be the master plan for the whole city, including Park and Rec, not just specifically Park and Rec?
It'll be Park and Rec master plan.
Park and Rec master plan.
Okay.
The master plan that Parks and Rec has been working on, that's the document that we'll have the public hearing on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, question, Mike. If the council wants to have the public come and comment on the idea of sledding, at that time, could we have people be presented the concept of the garden and give us feedback then? Or otherwise, we're going to need another time to get feedback? Because to date, we have not had public introduction of the idea, except when she mentioned it as an individual, and any comment back from people whatsoever.
I would recommend at this point, because we're all getting a little confused here, obviously, because we're talking about so many different things. So I'm envisioning 3 different public hearings here. One public hearing belongs to the council. That is for your Parks and Recs master plan. That is after you guys recommend it in your regular meeting, so that there's a physical document so that people can review. There's a second public hearing or workshop, depending upon what you guys choose to do on the sledding hill and the snowshoe trail. And then you can hold that whenever you guys are comfortable holding that once the exploratory stuff is done that staff is doing. And then if you want to have another workshop or public hearing or something of that sort on the community garden as a specific topic, we can talk about that in the future, I would recommend at this point. Just because we're kind of getting loaded for the next couple months on workshops / public hearings / talky stuff. And the community garden is currently in the master plan. When we get to the CIP, once the master plan is approved by council and done,
We can bring it
obviously
to the
you'll have
top.
the community garden in the CIP as a priority there as well. If the community garden ends up being a lower priority in the CIP, then you won't want to hold a public hearing on it or a workshop on it if it's going to be 4 years out. If it's like a next year project though, then at that point I would say, yeah, let's hold a workshop or a public hearing or something so that people can come in and give comments on it at that time. But that's going to be, I think, maybe like closer to summer right now from what I'm kind of hearing, after there's a little bit of time to work on the CIP, let council consider what they kind of want to do with it and go from there.
Why can't you have 2 public hearings at one meeting?
You can. We could have multiple public hearings at once if you.
P&Z does every time, just about.
Yeah, you can. It's just, if that's how you want me to do it, and you want to have both public hearings at one meeting, I can do that. I just personally wouldn't recommend it, I guess, given how much you guys are asking for out of these public hearings. Because it's not, what you're asking for in this public hearing is more of like a comment, conversationally, let's talk about it and think about it kind of thing. Whereas what P&Z is asking for is more of a, come up, give a comment on the variance, thank you for your comments, moving along. You know, like there's a more kind of like a strict order to things, whereas you guys are talking, at least from what I'm interpreting, you guys are talking more about a conversation.
What I was thinking was Sandy and Gail make their presentation. Okay, here's something Parks is talking about, thinking about. And then we say, does anybody have a comment? And people come up, I think it's good. I think it's not. I think I'd love to sign up tonight.
Maybe it would help us even with prioritizing it.
That would
Prior.
Yeah, because I'm kind of on the fence of who's should be in charge of this project. Whereas if there's a huge public demand, they say, yeah, we consider that Parks and Rec, or we like it, and that would give us direction of where to rank it. Is it more important than pickleball? I don't know. See what people say about gardens.
I think generally too, just more talk and more transparency and more opportunity is better. And I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to talk about on the sledding and the snowshoeing. But you never know. But I just don't think there's going to be a lot on that. And
We just call it park planning feedback or park, I mean.
And we could put, list those 3 things of interest so people know that's what we're talking about and see what happens.
We
And
could
then
kinda
if,
limit it to where you
I don't
make the
see why
presentation
that
and
would
we
be
just
bad.
Take their comment, but don't engage back and forth. Like, do you think the gardens should be 10 by 20? Do you think they should be 12 by 24?
Oh, please, yeah.
Where we just hear
Right.
kind of, we like it, we don't. We got these issues.
think
be
about it,
aware
get
of
back to
and
us,
Take that information with us to digest.
And like you said, then the council will be presenting, and they're going to take public comment on it, and then it'll be another opportunity then. So it'll be out there more than once if anyone brings it up.
So what I'm formulating in my mind is get the master plan approved from the parks, send it to council, have the public hearing, because all the items that you're discussing are in that master plan. Maybe we hear feedback at that public hearing so you can gauge that feedback. Then the Parks and Rec may start working on the capital improvement plan of making the list. Maybe not necessarily prioritizing it, but then once you have that list of what you want, then have a public hearing of, here's what the Park and Rec is considering. Come give us feedback of how you feel that those should be prioritized. That's maybe what I'm hearing, but maybe not.
No, I agree with that.
I got a feeling it's pretty disappointing to you to hear that it won't be till next year probably then.
The way it rolls.
It's been 3 years already.
It's a couple of years, yeah.
Well, but maybe
Just how it
we
rolls.
start it
Yeah.
small and continue to expand. I mean, the ground will be thaw.
Okay.
Like Joe said, it's not, really, when you get down to it, it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that.
It's just the fencing and the piping. Those are the 2 big deals.
Well, we're like way ahead here because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see it done and in.
So we
But we
could-
still need the city council to say, yep,
That's
you
your,
do have land if, and we're gonna turn it over to Park and Rec. And so we just we're there.
Right.
it's just
We can
what
figure
comes
all this
first
other
and
stuff
second.
out later. It's just.
We gotta
until they
get our
give us
master
land,
plan.
We have to
We don't
have,
have anything. So it's kind of dumb to keep going down this
yep.
whole deal. I mean, I'd love to be able to do that with the community, but we're not even there. We still need the council to say, yeah,
I like the idea of the plan, though, kind of in our mind of this is when we're going to
Like,
present
that's
this,
gotta be
this, and this.
priority.
Yeah, and getting the feedback as we're going, because then nothing's a surprise.
Yeah.
So if I may for just 2 seconds, maybe part of I'm maybe being a little too bureaucratic. I guess maybe what you really are considering then isn't so much a public hearing, more is just items on the agenda, publicizing it. I think I'm getting a little
Yes.
too formal, bureaucratic here possibly.
It's like part of open forum
Yeah,
kind of thing.
do more of an open forum announcement. There's
Yeah.
specific ways to do this that it could be done. I'll need to coordinate with Administrator Chansky on that. But if I step back from that sort of formal process for a second and I think about it in my head, not a public hearing then, but
Right.
maybe more of a commentary workshop of some kind, or open house, thank you, that's what I'm thinking. We've done several
Well,
open
and,
houses.
and
or-
that was what the council person asked of me. And I think master plan is the perfect time to do that, because that's where we have all our hopes and dreams, and we start
And we could.
getting
we could
that
do
feedback
Maybe
then.
what we're thinking is less, and if, assuming this is consistent with what you're thinking, Councilman Mamroni, maybe then what we're thinking is less of a public hearing on the master plan and more of an open house on the master plan.
Inviting comments and discussion.
From a council, for us to adopt that, doesn't that have to be, I think that needs to
It
be an
will-
official.
Yes,
We have our
eventually it
presentation.
will need to
So
be,
what you
yes.
could do is,
Of our
could you do an
garden.
open house for parks,
Plot
for the
or
master plan,
forums.
not necessarily at a council meeting?
We could do that.
Parks and Rec can be there to discuss the
is.
hopes and dreams and the big plans.
Yeah,
Council can show up as well,
here it is.
and then it goes on to.
We
for-
could do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. That changes the timing maybe a little bit, kind of. Let me work on that. I think I can do that. I think I can work on that as opposed to, like I said, I think I was getting a little too formal processy, because it is
We
technically
just want
a
to
document
introduce
that has
it,
to. Yeah.
introduce it.
Yeah, let me work that. Let me work on that. I think I can do that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Can I give my quick, I'll be brief. So I had reached out to all the administrators, principals, superintendent about having students help us with naming our disc golf courses. And one of them came back right away saying, yep, that sounds good. And in between that, they must have received some sort of an email requesting that we're not marketing our students to do this. So the school wants to keep clear of it. And so, but they did say that they would be happy to have it. We have a part of our website is called Community Backpack. So it's not a school affiliated thing, but things from our community are posted on our Community Backpack. So Boy Scouts, hockey teams that are not affiliated with the school, just local community things. And so I was thinking, before I went down that entire path, I want to just bounce off of you guys. I think Community Backpack would be an okay place to have it. Then families can choose if they want to, then they choose to do it. I wanted to know, is this something that then we're back to like an old-fashioned sheet of paper? I could have it linked on there, they could print it and turn it into city. How do we want it turned in? You know, I also was thinking too, it could be anonymous, but if they would like to be put in for a drawing or a prize, then they label their name. And then it's just open, I don't know, we set a certain amount of time and have it done that way. I just want it to be accessible to all. So
How are we going to have the kids, like they just, whatever name they want? You know,
they
I
could
mean,
write it
and-
down. We're inviting families and, you know, community members to help us name.
Then we're giving them like an overview of what it is.
Yeah.
And that we need a name for the two separate ones, and they should kind of tie together.
Well, we still have final say.
Yeah,
Say if
right.
15 people want some ridiculous name, we're not going to say, yeah, okay.
Like we would choose as a committee.
Right.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was
yeah.
oversight.
It was just getting kids involved and,
I know how organized kids are, so.
yeah. But then it's on the families, and the families can engage in it if the family chooses to do that. It's not being pushed directly to
Are we
students.
required then to, like, okay,
If we don't like any of them.
yeah,
No, then we better come up with something better. Then if we don't like any of theirs, we better come
Right.
up with
I
something
think
better.
I think we'll get something.
I think we will too.
Or even if it's one from one and one from the other, or, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, it's better than 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or A and B. I mean,
Right.
that's what we were going with, so, I mean,
So that's an update from me.
yeah.
I was
that's
thinking of
fine.
drafting up for our next meeting, having a mock version of what we would maybe post on Community Backpack and have our committee modify or up, change whatever, and then go
Put
from
that
there.
disc logo that you the icon.
Oh, yeah,
for the disc
yeah.
golf.
Then we
I
could
would
put a,
help our- Deanne, you and I could
blurb
even
in the
work on it.
Echo
Yeah, oh, yeah.
saying that we're
We're looking,
asking for-
seeking
yeah,
input from
seeking- Yeah, I
kids.
can help you with that.
So,
That sounds
Can I
good.
say one thing about the name of the park? Just quickly, it's just a thought, and I'd like people to think about, that if we're going to really name this park, not just the recreation area and park, whatever we decided that time, is that we look at the history of Breezy Point, and is there a name that we could give it? You look at all the city parks in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they're named after someone, or, you know, I mean, you could look at the, so what I did is we don't have to do this, but I contacted the Historical Society. And, you know, who founded this town? You know, is there some name that we can attach to it to bring some history into it, rather than just recreational park or whatever, you know?
What
And
did they tell you?
well, they're coming back. I actually have some information. It's kind of, when I bought my house, I'm gonna do this quick. When I bought my house, I went to the Historical Society just to find out about the land. And it is pretty cool. Like, I won't go through any details other than that's where the first schoolhouse was built. And the daughter was the first school teacher on the property that I have. But there was a woman that, when they wanted to incorporate the town or something, they,
it's Pelican Township.
yeah. What was her name? It was Van something.
look
Anyway,
at-
it doesn't matter. But
Boy, he's
Van-
quick. Cary Grant?
Whenever you go to the history, it usually goes to the resort. It's
Yeah,
always about the resort.
the resort.
That's because it was the resort.
Yeah, right. It's always
Yeah, that
about Billy
was-
Foster,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And
Yes.
there's a lot, there's interesting, the history up here, it is pretty interesting. So I just think, I would like people to consider that.
Yeah.
When we
I
get to
think-
that
Can
point.
put that in there
And I
to
think-
consider the history of the
Yeah.
city when you're, considering names.
The one thing that makes me nervous, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, is sometimes there's people are wanting history and names and of things to be changed because,
Yes, we.
I mean, it's politics.
Bad
And so
connotations
that's the
with
one
it,
thing that
yeah.
makes me a little nervous.
Like
But,
an Indian name or something.
yeah,
But
but,
a lot of people up here, like, I think they said like 90% of the people were Norwegian. So it's like, when they first settled here, so.
okay. All right. I think we've been here
Okay.
long enough for everybody. Anybody else have anything else to add? All right, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Meeting is done.